This is Mama Unleashed. Knowledge, information, truth and tools for you, so you can become the happiest mother you know. Hello and welcome to Mama Unleashed, the podcast for women who want to feel truly happy in motherhood. I'm your host, Dr. Jennifer Hacker-Pearson. I created Mama Unleashed because I want you to have access to knowledge, information and tools you can use so you can feel truly happy in motherhood. And sometimes the most valuable information, knowledge and tools comes from other mothers. I believe that as women, there is so much we can learn from women who have gone before us, which is why I am so excited to have a woman on the show today that we can all learn a lot from, the amazing Wendy Euler. Wendy is an incredible woman and mother of 3 girls. She is gorgeous, smart, courageous, curious, and not afraid to talk about her flaws. Wendy created the very successful Goodbye Crop Top, a movement that embraces women as we age and inspires us to unlock our creativity, connect our inner beauty to the outside world, and do what enables us to be the truest version of ourselves. She also hosts the podcast Cropped, a Midlife Minute, which is a love letter to women over 50 and a hand reached back to those who will be there one day. So you can see why I asked Wendy on the show. She's amazing, knowledgeable, and so inspirational. Listening to her is good for the soul and the mind. She reminds us that true happiness lies in our courage, curiosity, conversations, and true relationships, and that chocolate cake is not self-care. This episode of Mama Unleashed contains a few colourful words. If you have kids around, you might want to consider using headphones. Hi, Wendy. I'm so excited to have you on Mama Unleashed. Thank you so much for your time. I don't know where to start. There's so much that I'd love to talk to you about. Yeah. But if there is one place we can start, I just, how about we kind of delve a little bit into looking after the woman that is the, rather than the mother, the woman beneath the mother.
I would go as far to say the person beneath the mother and beneath the woman. I mean, we're people, right? Yeah. So we, like you and I were talking before, we wear so many hats. And I think, and I know you agree, that the most important hat we can put on is our own. And the hat of, I'm going to take care of myself because and it takes so long to realize that, but I'm no good to anyone unless I'm eating well, moving my body, drinking my water, doing my meditation, whatever your spiritual practice is. And geez, I mean, it's taken me 54 years to realize that. And my poor older girls now are like, well, thanks, Mom, thanks now.
But we were saying, the cliche of the oxygen mask, and we've been told that to us for certainly since I've been a mother, everyone's been saying it to me. You've got to put your oxygen mask on first, but it's almost like it's just become a noise in the background. You don't really hear it anymore, and you certainly don't do it.
Yeah, and I think for sure, and I think we're, it's a lot of how we're raised. It's generational. Of I believe my daughters, I have 3 daughters, 8, 17, and 20, but all of them. But I look at my older daughters now, and I know they're going to be better at this because they're self-advocates. They advocate for themselves. They ask for what they need. I was taught to be quiet and sit in the corner and not ask for anything. And my needs came last. And I was a kid, so be quiet. And I think that's the root of it all. I am no psychologist. You are. You're everything. But I mean, what do you think about that? I'll put that one back on you, that we're always told we can't ask for what we want or what
Absolutely.
Especially as little girls in the generation I was in, and you're a little bit younger than me, but what do you think about that?
No, I totally agree. And
give me some free psychology here.
Well, actually, I was talking to Marcus. Marcus is my husband, for people that don't know. Mm-hmm. Wendy knows Marcus. I was talking to Marcus the other day about this, how the Generation X is sort of been squished between the baby boomers and the millennials. But somewhere in the middle, we're like in this little dip. They're here and we're down there, and we're just, you don't speak unless you're spoken to, and you just sit in the corner and you be quiet. And so we've turned out to be these really kind of well-behaved, good people who have no sense of self, because we were always taught and told what to do and who to be. And it's to the detriment. We're extremely hard workers to the point of burnout. You just give us a task and we'll do it.
Yeah,
And
that's a whole podcast on its own.
exactly. Yeah. But do you know what I mean? So there's sort of it's this generation thing, and I guess that's where it comes from. So our parents were exactly like that. It's like, if you come along, you just sit there and be quiet, and we go home when I say we go home. Nowadays, when my children want to go home, we leave. I don't know what it's like with your kids, but
well, it depends on the behavior. I mean, if but you're so right that the absolute extremes, right?
Yeah.
And to like, hey, if we didn't win, we lost. That's how we did things back then. And now everybody gets an award, and everyone gets a prize, and everyone gets and I have my own feelings about that, but it's just pointing out the extremes of what you were talking about. Like, if I wanted to leave, they would tell me to go get in the car, and I can sit there for 6 hours and freeze to death. In Kansas,
I used to fall asleep on benches in restaurants because my mum didn't want to leave. Yeah. Or my parents didn't want to leave.
100%. Me too. I remember being at restaurants and like A and B, they're filled with cigarette smoke because everybody smoked, and so what's going on there? Like, and all of us are like, don't smoke around my baby. I mean, it's just gone from one extreme to the other.
It has.
And, the pendulum has to come back. It has to balance out at some point, I think. But yeah, it's crazy. And did my mom take care of herself? No, but she wasn't allowed to, didn't know how to,
And they didn't have the knowledge back then either. I mean, they were told that cigarette smoking was cool,
Oh, yeah. Yeah, well, my mom wasn't a smoker. That's a whole other story. She went to the far extreme. I think she probably should have had a couple drinks, and she's still alive. I love you, Mom, but a martini does some people good sometimes. But yeah, and they didn't know, and it's. I saw something today about our ancestry and how many people it takes to make me and you, right? If you look back at our history, and I'm just going, wow, and everything is passed down. Ooh, the good and the bad. Ooh, and you wear this big tail behind you.
Yeah.
And then at some point you go, look, I'm cutting the tail off. I'm breaking the branch off the family tree. And I'm going to be different and try to find a balance. But I think it's these conversations of, I don't believe every kid should have an award. I believe you should know what it feels like to lose.
Absolutely.
Don't believe we should leave the party when one of our kids leaves the party if we're having fun because we're the adults. Do I fall into that and leave 100%? Yeah. But then I'm mad at myself because I did that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm just a squirrel trying to get a nut in this crazy world.
Same. And maybe a couple of nuts for my kids along the way. But it's funny you said that about the
That's right.
Transgenerational stuff.
Well, the nuts go to the kids first, right?
Of course. That's why we're having this conversation.
Yeah.
But the transgenerational.
So anyway, we're back to zero.
Sorry, say that again.
I said we starve. The nut goes to our kid. We starve. We're back to where we started.
Where the conversation started, yeah. But it's interesting you were saying about the transgenerational trauma, not all trauma, but all the stuff that we bring along with us. But you need to have a certain level of consciousness to realize that that's what's going on, because otherwise you do carry all that sort of stuff through with you in your life. And if it's not congruent with who you are, because at the end of the day, your soul, you are a different person to, say, your mother or your grandmother. I'm saying women now because I think it's passed through genders much more than through like the negative things, I guess, more so. It comes from mothers to mothers to mothers to mothers, so women to women to women, and to have the consciousness to go, I don't want to do that. Why am I doing that? And there's no congruence there between what I feel and what I should be doing. Let me have a look at that.
Yes.
And I think that again, coming back to the self-care and filling your own cup and putting your own oxygen mask on, that is self-care in the greatest form. It's to just have this curiosity to go, is this me, or is this something that I've inherited somewhere a gazillion years ago? Who knows where it came from?
I totally hear you and agree. And to self-care, someone asked me today, what are two words you hate? And I said self-care, because it's gone so awry to me. Self-care is that I'm going to have what I want for dinner tonight. That's self-care. It's not, it's the little things in each and every day that are self-care. It's not the going to the spa or putting on a face mask, or that's all fun, but it's over in 5 seconds. And quite frankly, I'm depressed, it's over, and I feel worse. So how do we bring self-care into every everyday practices? It's the consistency of that
Mm.
is where the power comes. And I'm not saying I'm a pro at this, but I recognize it. And to your point, I think it's being conscious and recognizing and having these conversations. We never had these conversations
No.
about us or around us, or to listen to when we were kids. Not a chance,
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
so
And I
you
agree
know
with you. I hate the word self-care. I really do.
oh,
But not
oh,
because I believe in self-care. I think self-care is paramount, particularly in motherhood, particularly in motherhood.
oh,
But not the self-care that is being, peddled on the internet and through social media and all that sort of stuff. But like you said, like for me, I think anything that has an ongoing, longer lasting effect for yourself or your mental health, your physical health. So like going to the
yeah,
work out at the gym or run or yoga or whatever it is that you want to do, any kind of mental training like meditation, that's
mm,
self-care to me. Not eating chocolate cake, getting your
yeah,
nails done.
I agree. I agree. It's the day-to-day stuff. And I talk about this. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say it's just so um epitomizes the current state of the world. Quick fix, chocolate
Mm,
cake, nails done, spa day, I'm
mm,
cured. And it's like, no, 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 no. 12
mm.
months of going to yoga, 24 months of meditation.
Totally 36 days of and I talk about this a lot, and I have a podcast about it, a 5-minute podcast, and I
We'll put
but
a link in the show notes for that too. But I love your
who
podcast.
oh, thanks so much. The next season of Cropped is coming in October.
Great.
But no one, it, it is it is shocking to me how many times, because I talk to a lot of women in my community that I've built, and I try to answer people thoughtfully and get back, and you say, are you just doing the basic things? Like you said, so this is to your point of everyone's trying to get the great fix, the $450 face cream, or the this or the that, or the here's the diet or the workout program, or the here's the deal, people. Move your body, drink your water, eat well most of the time. And I like cheeseburgers and french fries. So I go there 20% of the time. I do. I am not ever going to live. When I'm in Rome, I'm going to drink a bottle of red wine and eat a bowl of pasta. I just
Yeah.
sent. So move your body, drink your water, eat well most of the time, have some kind of spiritual practice. And that can be dancing in your kitchen to earth, wind, and fire. I don't care what it is, but some kind of spiritual practice.
Mm,
Jesus Christ, Buddha, I
yeah.
don't care, right? Meditation.
Yeah.
And and a really important one is, who are you hanging around with?
Yes.
What company are you keeping? Because that's everything, Jen, to me, you know and we've talked about this. We were just talking about friends and new friends and old friends, and the reciprocity is the key to relationships, right? I know her, she knows me. We don't get mad at each other. We are okay if each other cancels at the last minute. Neither of us is trying to look 30 because we're 50, and we never will. And find your jam, find your people, find the people
Exactly.
that lift you up, right?
Exactly.
Otherwise, you start questioning everything. Oh, why am I? Why do I look like this? And why
Yeah.
I do not have a friend in my life that I walk away from where I don't have a skip in my step when I leave. And I hope, my hope is that the reciprocity is there, that they do as well.
Yeah.
I don't have it is like, so I think it's just get back to basics. There
Yeah,
is no quick fix.
absolutely. If there's one thing I could add to your list as well, I would say exercise your mind as well. I think we need to keep our
Oh
mind
my gosh.
sharp, whether it's through reading or, just
Oh
Sudoku,
my
whatever it is.
gosh.
Meditation is a great tool, so that I think that's important also for preventative measures for later in life. But I
yeah,
so agree, and we were talking about the friendship thing, and
totally.
then maybe it's also because obviously we're getting a bit older, where we just don't have time for the bullshit anymore, and so
Yeah.
when I'm the same as you. It's like if I can't go into a situation with people unless it's work and then it's a bit different, but with my close friends, and I can't just go "Ugh," and just let whether it's my physical, my mental, whatever, and just be me, then they're not my friend. And I've just written a new course and I talk about the mask of motherhood. And I know this is specific to mothers, but it's for everybody. And the mask of
Sure.
motherhood is something we put on to show the world that we're okay and that we're doing great, and that we're like coping and we're doing all the things. We're doing all the things, Wendy. I'm
Hmm.
great. And and when you find your village, these people and creating this
Hmm.
village is really, really important. And you often doesn't include the people that you think, right?
Never, no,
And then
rarely.
you have to leave that mask and the mask of motherhood at the door when you come into the village. And same with the people that are coming into your
I
village.
love that. I want a dose of this course. I love that. I love that. And speaking of, I love that, and I love everything you do. But speaking of exercising your mind, I believe that's part of friendship. We
Yes.
exercise our minds together.
What
We talk about books we've
talking?
read and
Yeah.
Wordle. I mean, stupid things. I do the New York Times crossword every day. Like, and we talk about that, and I I leave learning something, and like I said, my hope is they do as well. But I think
Mm.
you have friends who you can exercise your mind with, and
Yes, I
friends who
agree.
you can laugh with, and friends who you can eat with, and friends who you can.
And friends
But
that stimulate your mind as well, because I think,
yes,
we've become so offended in the world. And the reason we're so
ugh,
offended is because we're closed to other people's opinions.
mhm,
And if somebody tells you something that is their opinion and they give you a reason and it's not, a forceful shoving down the throat, listen. You
mm,
you can learn something. You don't have to agree with it, but just listen. And that's stimulating the mind. That is exercising the mind. And
same,
to have
same.
conversation with friends where you can sit around and you can talk about things, and nobody gets offended. That's such a
It,
gift.
it's brilliant. And to that point, my neighbors next door are conservative. They're very different than me. But I will just say out loud, I'm fairly moderate when it comes to, or always have been, politics. But you can imagine the shit show going on in America and that you can't talk about anything over here.
Yeah.
My neighbors are very different from me. They asked me to come around last night on the patio for a drink. I went over. We had the most intelligent conversation about humanity and
Wow.
about how they care and about how I care and their religion and my faith, which I don't even know what that is. I'd quite frankly say maybe I'm agnostic, but I believe in something bigger and greater than me and wonderful. I just don't think one person's right and one's wrong. But that's where the magic happens, not with hanging out with someone who thinks exactly like you do,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
It's where someone challenges you and pushes you, and um that I just experienced that last night, and I came home and I told Brenton, who you also know because our husbands have been friends since childhood, which is a whole other story. But
It's a
I
whole
just said
podcast in itself.
that, whoa, yeah, well, that's a whole one. So, but I just said I just feel alive from that, because there
Yeah.
was a little bit of a debate. There was
Yeah.
a little bit of, why do you think that way and why do I think this way?
Yeah,
And
yeah. I love
um
it. And without having to censor yourself, like I'm not saying you
no,
should be mean or in any kind of way, but just say, well, have you ever thought about this? Or I actually thought blah, blah, blah. And that the person goes, oh, yeah, I've never thought about it that way, rather than going, no,
right,
that's wrong.
that's right,
And
that's
that's so, so nourishing and stimulating for the mind and the brain. I mean, that's just
totally,
blood flow through all through. If you did a scan while you're having that
yeah,
conversation, it's like lighting up like a
yes,
Christmas tree.
yes, yes, and you know that for sure. Yeah, it's interesting. So that was really a great night for me last night, and unexpected, and um yeah, but to be accepting, I'm at this place now where, whether it's motherhood or friendships or whatever it is, you have to keep a lens of curiosity at the forefront, right? Why and what and why do you think this way and what do you, and drill deeper. And I think there are so many uh, organizations or religions or whatever it might be that just are designed to squash curiosity.
Yeah.
Don't look any further. we have all the answers. This is the way it is. No,
Mm,
it's not. No,
mm,
it's not. So but a lot of that's going on in America where the curiosity is trying to be and is extinguished right
mm,
now.
mm.
They're just drinking the punch, believing certain things. And I'm not talking about a specific party. I'm talking about a lot of people. And
Life, yeah.
yeah, and so
It's similar here, and
I'm interested in
I think it's
curious people.
I think it's similar here as well. And so, I think that that's even more reason to try and find your tribe, so that to find your
Yes.
people, to have these conversations where,
Yes.
you get into this flow. I just had it with you actually. When we were talking, I was like, oh, I wonder how long have we been talking? You get into a flow where you just like 5 hours could pass and it feels like 5 minutes because it is so interesting and nourishing to your soul.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And I think, I really believe in what we said, and I will add the intellectual stimulation or the brain stimulation, whatever you want to call it. But I think you get that with your friends because, of course, the books you read, but then what do you do with that book? Do
Mm,
you just read that and put it down? No, you got to go talk about it
yeah,
because someone can say to me, I'm so well read. I've read every book. Well, what's your interpretation of, you know,
that's right.
To Kill a Mockingbird? Have you read it as an adult versus as a teenager? I'm just pulling that out of the
Yeah.
nowhere, but like, how do you interpret it? And then how do you
What
break it down with someone
and what
and take it to practical use?
and what questions does it raise for you
That's
about
it. That's
yourself
it.
and about your
That's
life?
it.
And
Yes.
and I mean, this it's infinite, isn't it?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm reading. I love The School of Life. I love this writer called Elaine de Botton, and there's this series of essays called The School of Life, and there's one in particular called On Confidence. There's one called on, different things. But I reread this little book or this essay over and over, and it says basically, confidence is not, which this all ties into confidence to me, which is where
Mm,
I'm going with this. Having the confidence to sit in front of someone who will challenge you, having the confidence to, make your negotiables non-negotiable,
mm,
moving your body, doing these things, like get your own stuff going on, right?
yeah.
But anyway, I'm going on a tangent, but it says basically confidence is not about recognizing your own dignity. Confidence is about realizing we're all ridiculous, right? And when we can all go, we're all ridiculous, we're all fucked up, we've all got childhood trauma, we all suck, and we're all so beautiful and amazing.
Yeah,
And then that's where the confidence lies, right? Does
totally.
that make sense?
Yeah,
To me, that's
and
where
the courage to go
yes.
there as well, and yeah, and to recognize that we're all imperfect, we all make mistakes, and I do that. Marcus and I make such an effort with the kids to show them our vulnerability because probably
Yeah.
you were similar with my parents. They never cried, they never made mistakes, they never were never nervous. And so I grew up thinking that's what I had to be like, and
Yeah.
of course I wasn't. And as a young adult, I would think I'm inferior to everybody else has got this except for me. And now that I'm older and I've realized that actually everybody is exactly like what you just said. We're all fucked up. We're all
and
imperfect.
and and it's so true to what you're passionate about motherhood and speaking about being a mother and how to navigate that situation and among many other things. But remember, when you're a new mom, you're like, oh my god, and you're looking around, you're like, should I not do that? Should I do that? Should I?
Yes.
And then you go back to work and you're like, am I doing that wrong? Should I not do that? Should I? And now I'm like, I don't care. I know,
Oh, I
I
love that.
know when I go to bed at night, I've done the best I can. And maybe I fucked up that day, but I
Yeah.
did the best I could.
And you can always
And
try
then
again tomorrow.
and you try to be better the next day.
Yeah.
And yeah, but it's in everything. Like, and I was just saying to someone, I was on another podcast and they said, who would you consider your competitors? I'm like, I don't know, because I don't look around anymore. I do
Mm,
not compare myself to anyone ever. I
mm,
might find something inspirational or motivational, but as I always say, that's elusive. That goes through your hands. Like,
yeah.
what's tangible for you? What can you take and do? Right. So but I don't know. I don't think I have any competitors. I think I'm the only me out there. And that
Well,
doesn't
you
mean
are.
someone's well, and so I see a middle-aged woman accomplishing something that I've gone, oh, I really wanted to do that. I'm so happy that she did it because she's a
Yeah.
50-year-old woman. So winning,
Yeah. Exactly, exactly. And I think
right?
that that's something I wanted to talk to you about as well. Women empowering women, and how we have this kind of, especially
Uh,
with women and in motherhood as well, this competitiveness when, I was going to say when we're younger, but potentially all our lives for a lot of people, where it's just, I need to get there first and I need to do it better and I need to, and it's terrible. It's terrible. So
yeah,
to hear you say that you're happy for someone who's done something that you want to do, it's hard, I
100%.
can imagine. And, I try and do it myself, sometimes unsuccessfully because I'm flawed. But, I think it's so important to do. It's so important to do also for our well-being, because if we're grateful for that somebody else has done it, it actually nourishes us as well.
Mm, mm. I did a whole podcast on a 5-minute podcast on this too, and be happy for the winner.
Yes,
And
I heard
because
that
we're
one.
all winning, if we're
Yeah.
all like, and you know, it's so toxic. Like I look around and I look at, say, a 49-year-old woman with her perfect body jumping off a mega yacht at the south of France, which what I'll go do that. I probably will go jump off a mega yacht, but my at some point in my life. But I'm saying like, or at least I hope I will. That sounds fun. But it's these unrealistic portrayals out there of body type. It's like you look at a celebrity's body and there's a 49-year-old celebrity's body. And then there's a 49-year-old woman in Tulsa, Oklahoma, looking at her thinking, oh, I could. No, you can't, because that person has 64 people around them every morning. Like, my point is, be
Mm.
real. Like, what's real?
Can I tell you something? And I
Yeah.
might get in big trouble for this, but when I was at I went to university for a really long time. I was there for
Yeah.
12 years the first time around. And so to supplement I got scholarships, but to supplement my scholarships, I did a bit of modeling. And it was just sort of more catalog stuff, mainly commercials. And I'm not going to name any names, but I was 22 at the time. I had a 12-year-old child in one of the campaigns. And I just went, so I had this kid when I was 10. And
Yeah.
obviously, because in the catalogue, the women who are actually 32 or maybe 42 even, who have a 12-year-old child, I'm now
Yeah.
45, I have a 12-year-old child, is looking at 22-year-old me going,
Yes.
I want to look like her.
Never gonna happen.
Crazy, isn't it? So I don't know, I might never ever get a job again now.
No, yeah, you will. Yes, you will. And it's our time. I mean, that's what I do to pay my bills. I'm a model, right? I go
Yeah.
do modeling gigs on the side for catalogs and all this different stuff, and it pays my bills. But and I modeled in my late teens and early 20s, and it is a different ball game now.
Yeah,
In
right.
in such a beautiful, wonderful, all-inclusive way.
That's
It's
awesome.
it's like if someone would have told me at 20 when I was out doing a ton of stuff, at 54 you're going to be modeling again, I would have been like, that's funny, because at 28 you're old in this industry. And
Yeah.
it's so lots of good things are happening. I mean, I really want to recognize that lots of good things are happening. And
Yeah.
it's in the inclusive world of age, of body type, of all of it, you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
ethnicity, all of it. I love it. I
Yeah.
love it.
No, that's really good.
Yeah.
And I guess it's empowering for the women that are, watching things, television, and looking in catalogs, looking in magazines, and I think that we need to do more of that. I think the empowering other women, whether it's through, just a friend talking to a friend or whatever, or doing, catalog work and actually casting real 50-year-old women in 50-year-old clothes. It's
Exactly.
amazing. I love it. And I
Yeah.
love your whole concept about goodbye crop top, and the empowering the woman over 50 to have style and substance. And because once upon a time, and I think still actually in some areas, when you're a 50-year-old mother, and sorry, coming back to motherhood again, 50 is ancient, but like even 35, 40, you're almost done. Like you got to have the knitted crochet blanket on your lap and drink a cup of tea
Yeah.
at 5 p.m. on a Friday. And I love
Yeah.
that you're changing the story around that, because the older I'm getting and the more I'm reaching 50, the more I'm like, this is only just beginning.
Oh, Jen, is it ever? Is it ever? It is
Yeah.
just beginning. My 40s were fantastic. My 50s are insanity. And I
Awesome.
have friends in their 60s who are like, you just wait. Like, you just wait. It just
Yeah.
gets better and better. And you know why? Because we're not comparing ourselves to anyone. We're doing the best we can. The company I keep likes me and I like them. And it's just amazing. It really is. And I just can't stress that enough about who you hang around with. I
Yeah.
cannot stress that enough, you
I
know?
wonder. I wonder too. I'm a very curious person. I say I wonder so many times a day. I'm
Good, me
very curious,
too.
but I
What do
wonder.
you think about the I wonder about the me too.
I
Same.
wonder how much of this, you know, growing spiritually, growing, we're doing in our as our generation is to do with the fact that we didn't really know who we were until we became older adults. Like, I'm not
Mhm.
saying 18, 19, 20, but like sort of around
Yeah.
30 is when it happens for most people, where they go, hang on a minute, I what's going on? This I don't want to subscribe to this anymore. Who am I actually? And they start getting this curiosity and going on this journey to find themselves. Because I wonder whether, whether that the idea of the 60-year-old woman being, cooped up with a little blanket and the cup of tea at 5 o'clock on a Friday, whether that is from just because of the previous generation, and there wasn't this curiosity and there wasn't this kind of searching, and maybe the fact that we were so pushed down and so silenced as children is what has given us the gift to grow like that.
Yeah, maybe, but I think the previous generations were pushed down in silence too, don't you? I mean, I don't know. So, I mean, I hear you,
Yeah,
maybe,
I don't
but
know.
it's an interesting question, Jen, and we should get to the bottom of this pivot. Like, why did this happen? And it's very curious. It's very interesting to me, and I I don't know, but I know for me, 5 years ago, I come from advertising and marketing and a great, wonderful career in that, and I took a few years off, after I had my baby at 46, and I thought, "What am I gonna do next? Because I can't be finished," and my whole life, I've loved style and writing, and so I'm like, "I'm gonna combine those, and I'm gonna blast out there for middle-aged women," because I just wasn't seeing it, and I was feeling good, so that was my impetus, but I don't really know, like I don't know but so I was looking and looking and looking, and
Mm.
everything I saw was either someone 49, I was 49 at the time, someone my age trying to look 30, which is never going to happen. And you're going to look like a freak show if you try to. And I'm all for tweaking and doing what you want to do to look good and whatever. So I really need to say that. But like that, or it was, I'm going to curl up in a ball and die because I've gone through menopause or I'm going through menopause. My husband left me. I'm an empty nester. My life is over. And I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. I'm 49. I've never been in better shape. I've never felt better. I've never had better friends. This needs to be talked about.
Yeah.
I'm anti-aging. What the anti-aging? What you? I'm not ready to die. That's the alternative to anti-aging. So,
Yeah.
like, I need to go talk about this. And my girlfriend said, you need to go write and talk about this because
Awesome.
no one was doing it 5 years ago.
Yeah.
It was just this, and I'm like, I'm not that, and I'm not that. So, but I don't know. That doesn't answer. I was going to say our question, but your question of
No, but
when
it's
the pivot happened or why it happened, and um,
but don't you think there's several pivots anyway in a
historically,
woman's life? Like there's a pivot around adolescence when we become a woman and we
mm,
start menstruating. And then there's certainly a pivot that's mainly what I talk about when we become mothers. There's this matrescence, which is
mm-hmm,
another huge developmental shift in us, and also when one of the times when the brain changes the most. So adolescence, matrescence, and around menopause. And so I
mm-hmm.
wonder whether it's actually much more biological than we realize.
But why hasn't anyone done it before? That's what I'm. Your question is
Well, I
lingering in
think
me.
because
Like,
that's why I'm wondering whether we're a more curious bunch because we've never, I'm saying never really had a voice. You're right that other generations didn't have a voice, but maybe they never found it because it would have been there for them before, but it seems like they all kind of fell into what they were told they should do. but
Mm-hmm.
never had the courage or the curiosity to say, but that doesn't feel right for me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
True.
I
True.
don't know. Just, you know,
Yeah.
just an idea.
Yeah, I love it.
I don't
I
know the
love it.
answers.
Let's
I
let's
just
have another
speculate.
conversation just on that topic because
Yeah,
it's fascinating to me. Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I think you're absolutely fabulous, and I'm so grateful for what you're doing because you're paving the way for women like me, and for particularly for women, but also for mothers. Because again, back in the day, it was like you had a child and that was it. And especially once your kids grew up, life was over. You're done. You've done what you needed to do, and now it's time to put the blanket on your
Mm-hmm.
lap and have a cup of tea. But if you have this curiosity and a bit of spunk, and you want to explore life and you want to explore yourself, you need somebody to guide you. And what you are doing is so amazing because
Mm-hmm.
you are really paving the way for women coming through, and women walking with you to go, hang on a minute, there's more. And I love it. So thank you.
There's so much more. Thank you for saying that. That means a lot, especially coming from you. Thank you.
Oh,
Yeah, I know
thank
you
you.
don't say that lightly, and I know
No,
how extremely educated and thoughtful you are in your words and decisions. So that means a lot to me. Thanks, Jen.
thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
I think that we've got this opportunity to keep evolving, and
Mm.
and when somebody does it before you, I always come back to that I can never remember his name, that guy that ran the 4 minute mile the first time. Everyone said
Oh,
it
yeah,
can't be
yeah, yeah,
done,
yeah.
can't be done, can't be done, can't be done, right? And then one
Mhm.
guy did it, and then the next week 12 people did it.
That's right.
And so it's almost like somebody needs to step ahead, and someone needs to have the courage, to step ahead and say, this is how it's going to change. And then other people come behind and go, me too. I feel like there is more to offer. I feel like, because I always come back from the motherhood thing, that motherhood is such a gift in the sense that I feel becoming a mother is an invitation to a spiritual awakening that you are not given in any other way. And then you can
Hmm.
choose to accept it and go down that route and become curious and discover yourself and discover the world, or you can choose not to. And neither is correct. It's up to you. But I've
Hmm.
chosen to go down the route, and I'm like, motherhood is extremely difficult. Still, now my kids are older, but I'm so grateful for it because the
Wait until
person
Everly's a teenager. Sorry.
Everly is an 8-year-old. It's enough. Everly, like I always
Yeah.
say to Everly, was born screaming and she didn't stop for 4 years. I think she's still screaming, but yeah, it's going to be a handful, definitely. But the person that I'm becoming in the development of that, I love that person, and
Yes.
even though it was I think you probably know how hard it was for me with when she was born. It was so hard that I thought, what is the point of this?
Hmm.
Now I get why. It was
Yeah.
like I had to go right down. There was so many layers, and I'm totally talking about myself. Sorry, it's meant to be about you, but
Oh,
there was
good.
so
I
many
want,
layers I had to
yeah.
strip off myself, and all these beliefs and values that I carried in my transgenerational tale that I just had to strip off, and I had to really go, right, which part of that is me, and what do I want, and what do I not want, and what suits me. And a lot of it was by trial and error. It's, and I'm still kind of going. I think it's an journey till death,
Isn't
really.
everything by trial and error?
Yeah.
Because I mean,
Yeah,
you go in with the remedy and it's never the remedy. It's never the solution. Like
that's
you go
right.
and then you go back to the trials. At least I find that.
No,
So
totally.
now yeah. Now I
Totally.
just fuck up over and over until I get it right, and I know that's okay. But yeah,
But you shake
oh,
it
it's
off quicker as well, don't you? You just sort of go, oh, well,
now
that
I
didn't work.
do.
Try again.
Now I do. Now I do for sure. Now I do for sure. I think that's the biggest, most beautiful thing about aging is that, at least theoretically, you should care a lot less
Mm,
about what people think about how you do things, how
mm,
you're mothering, how you're working, who cares? You do what works for you. And I'm not saying be an asshole or a dick. Like, I mean, I'm not saying that's okay. I'm saying, like, in a normal, sane, situation, that I just don't care anymore. I genuinely
mm,
don't care what you think about my parenting, my relationships, my they're mine.
mm.
And and no one's inside of anybody's life or anybody's head, and
Mm.
no one should judge.
Yeah.
I'm over it. And I don't look at people now and go, I can't believe that. I can't, because I don't know what's going on in that person's life. And I always say, like, if you know a lot about someone, don't talk about them. And if you know nothing about them, don't talk about them.
Mm.
Both situations. Keep your mouth shut. It's
Yeah.
not about you, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. And I
And I
and
got,
sorry.
yeah. No, go ahead.
I was just going to say I'm so grateful we're having this conversation, and I hope that a lot of the younger mums will see, not think this is specific to us, but hopefully they can take this on board already, because I wish somebody had told me this when
Me
I
too.
had Daniel. I wish somebody, because I actually, in my book I've got a section in there that says I wish someone had told me there are many ways to skin a cat, because
Yeah.
I thought that because I wasn't doing XYZ I was doing it wrong. And
Yeah.
and we think that in life we think that I'm not doing this and I'm not doing that, so therefore it's wrong, and it's just not. And so I think what you said perfectly sums it up. You do you. Just do you. As long
Yeah.
as you're not harming anyone, as long as you're not harming yourself, just do you.
Mm.
And I wish I'd have
Mhm.
known that about 12 years ago.
I wish I would have known that about 4 years ago. Yeah, I hear you. So true. Just do you, but do you do the best you? I mean,
Yeah.
I'll go as far to say make sure your basics are in place. Drink your
Yeah.
water, move your body, hang around with good people, have a spiritual practice, whether it's dancing in the kitchen or going to a Christian church. I don't care,
Yeah.
as long as you're not judging someone else, and do these things and be kind and good to people, and beyond that,
Yeah. And stay open and curious. Open and
oh,
curious, and then the world is your oyster.
the world is your oyster.
And now
You
we
can
have.
never be too curious. And if you start asking questions to someone, or questions intimidate people, right? You know this. You get in a conversation, and I think that's why I last time I saw you was a wedding a few years ago, and you and I talked the whole time because I was asking you questions, you're asking me questions. It was like, oh my gosh, this is beautiful, this is amazing. But questions make people turn on their heel and run away,
Yeah.
and that's also another podcast. But
But why? Why? Because
people
it's
are
like,
scared.
well, either you don't believe in what you're going to tell me, or you're
Hmm.
afraid to tell me what you believe. Yeah,
Hmm.
it's definitely
I
another
think it's kind of
possibility.
like raising your hand in class, right? I remember being so terrified to raise my hand, and half the time I'd go, "Oh, I knew the answer and I didn't raise my hand." And it's just like, just put it out there,
Mm.
say it, ask the question, in our adult lives, and magic happens there too. When
Mm.
you start doing that, and you attract your people, and like I've told my kids since they were tiny, be you, people will stick and people will fall off, and be okay with that.
Yeah.
Who
Yeah.
cares? I don't need everybody to like me anymore. That's not
I think the
good.
falling off part is tricky, especially in this day and age of social media, where likes and follows and everything. And so you lose some followers, and I personally think that we're going to be in for a really hard world when the sort of older teenagers, young adults now are going to hit approximately 30. There's going to be a huge global existential crisis, because all they know is around social media and identifying with what is there, with their likes and their follows and their comments and all that sort of stuff. So
I'd have to
that will
agree
be
with you.
interesting. But yeah, so I think that, I mean, that's hard for anyone to take, I guess, if you want to call it rejection in inverted commas, that somebody doesn't like you for being you, or they don't like what you've said, and but whatever, what did you say? Whatever sticks will stick. Is that what you said?
Yeah, and I think, like, just hang around with the right people and you'll never feel bad about that stuff, because just
Yeah.
look at the table. Look who's sitting at the table with you, and be proud that and happy that you're there, and who cares what anyone else thinks?
Mm,
Who cares?
yeah.
Sit at the table where you belong, where you want to be, and be merry. Like, don't worry.
Mm.
Don't worry.
And I think that is so applicable in motherhood as well. So I hope that, the listeners can take this and take it on board for themselves. I think it's such a beautiful place to end our conversation, Wendy. It's been absolutely amazing, and I wish we could. In fact, I might stop pressing record and just keep talking to you.
Yeah, let's do
I
it.
love talking to you every time, which is why we spoke
Same.
the whole way through the wedding.
Yes, right. I
But
know. Same. Thanks
yeah,
for
thank you.
having me.
My
I do.
pleasure. Thank you.
I don't take it lightly when someone invites me into their precious space, and I appreciate it, and I'm honored, and I'm grateful to be here, and I look forward to a lot more conversation in our lifetime.
Thank you so much for listening to Mama Unleashed and for your courage to be a happier mum. I hope this episode has inspired you to be more courageous and confident and curious in your motherhood journey. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider rating and reviewing Mama Unleashed wherever you're listening to it right now. And please forward this podcast to your friends so we can empower and support every woman to be the happiest mother she knows. Thank you so much for being here. I'm Dr. Jennifer Hacker Pearson. See you next time.